Hey guys, welcome to my new movie review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the indie film Carol. Carol is a film that's based on a book called The Price of Salt. I believe it has the same writer as The Talented Mr. Ripley, for those who are familiar with that movie and that book. But in the movie Carol, it's about a Christmas store clerk who she becomes friends with a customer who she's holding her gloves for. She forgot them at the Christmas store one day. She's also holding a product for her that was hard to get a hold of around Christmas time. So the two meet through that. And as this store clerk gets to know this woman more, she finds out that she's a married woman who's going through a divorce. She has this daughter who's having custody problems. The father wants full custody of the daughter, and she wants full custody of the daughter. So there's a whole battle between them. The husband, who will soon be the ex-husband, wants her to be more close to his family still for Christmas time. He really wants her there. She doesn't really want to be with his family anymore because of the divorce and because of the fact that the custody is being so difficult with her winning the case. So basically, her and Carol, Carol's the married woman, and this clerk, they become close friends, and then that friendship starts to turn into road trips, and the road trip starts to turn into even closer friendships, and then those closer friendships turn into something even further than that. So overall, guys, I liked Carol. I didn't completely love this movie. I think there's a lot of things about it that are really impressive and really good, and things that I think I would even like to see during Oscar season when the nominations for that get announced. But overall, I think the movie itself, like just as far as watching this movie, rewatching this movie, I don't think it's going to like stand the test of time as well as it's hoping it's going to. I think there's things about it, like I said, that are really, really impressive, but there's things about it that aren't quite as good as you were hoping it was going to be. So for my positives and negatives of the movie, I thought the 1950s set designs were absolutely amazing. This is probably one of the best set design movies of the year. The sets were really impressive in the movie. It really took me into the 1950s, and I think that's because the movie does take place in the 50s, and I think that's one thing that the film does really well is it takes you into the time period that it's trying to be in. So Carol, as far as setting goes, they mastered those set designs. And I do think that another thing that I would like to see at the Oscars is there really were great performances here from Rooney Mara, Cate Blanchett, and Kyle Chandler. I thought all three of them were really good. Kyle Chandler, you can kind of understand where he's coming from, even if you don't completely agree with what he's doing. With Cate Blanchett, you kind of understand her pain and her suffering. And even same with Rooney Mara, you kind of understand why. Her friendships don't last too long, why her relationships with men aren't as strong as she's hoping they were going to be in the long run. The film really does a great job with that. I also thought the moments that focus more on Rooney Mara in this retail job, there's not as many of them as you think they're going to be, judging by the trailer. But when they do happen, they actually are really relatable for those who ever worked in retail, like I'm currently doing right now. It's really relatable to retail. There's a lot of people, who want you to leave your station to show them where a certain thing is, and it's all about, holding the product and giving them rain checks and so I think as far as that went, they really, whether it's the writer of the book or the director of the movie or the screenwriter of the movie, they seem to know that retail environment really well. And that's one thing about the movie that was really impressive is they really made you feel like you're in this job with this girl. And I think that was really impressive with the movie too. There's also a character that Rooney Mara's friends with, and it's kind of she doesn't know if it's going to become a relationship or anything at one point in the movie. He's this little film director guy who is in the 1950s. I think he's has connections to magazines and newspapers and stuff, and he wants to really make movies. And I really like this character. It really had a sense of what film directors in the 1950s thought about, what they were hoping they could do with their films if they got famous. So I really like that character. It's they don't really put him in the movie for too long. He like shows up near the end, like later, but they when they do show him, I think he's a very fun character to watch in the movie, and he kind of added in the movie because I think he helped Rooney Mara think about things that she wasn't originally thinking about. So that's another thing I liked about his character. I thought he progressed the story along, and he was a fun character to watch in the movie. And there's also a lot of underground event moments in the movie, like specifically with Carol and the store clerk. Carol, by the way, was played by Cate Blanchett in the movie. There's a lot of like underground event moments in the movie where like they really don't want other people to know that what they're doing, and I think it's played out very well. It's very secretive, very kept in the room that they're in, and those underground event moments play out really well in the movie. For my negatives of Carol, negative, sorry. There's some details I thought they ignored throughout the movie, like, oh, well, wait, how come that's happening now? How come this person's not at their job? How come this person's not there? There's some little moments right there where I really couldn't understand why certain things were handled the way they were. So there was just some small little details every once in a while as far as where characters worked at, how long they work, and what this person's up to while that person's doing that. So there's some small details like that in the movie that didn't really make that much sense to me. There's also, I thought the film was too straightforward with its messages and goals. Just like, here's our messages, here's what we were trying to accomplish, and that's our movie. I felt like that was kind of the execution they went with it, and I really think if we were left with more things to think about after the movie was done with, I think this movie would have been more enjoyable for more people. I also thought some of the pacing was a little slow in it. There was one point in the movie where it just really got slow. It really got halted as far as story points go. So pacing wise, it was a little slow for me. There's also some over stylized moments. One good example of this is there's a scene where Carol and Rooney Mara are on like this little road trip thing that they're going on, and they're driving through a tunnel, and it's really neat to look at. But there's obviously they're clearly talking about something, and they could have really developed those characters more in this certain scene, but instead of doing that, they completely like they're talking about something, but they completely make the music really loud, and they stylize the scene so much to the point where it just feels like an art house film and it's not really developing the characters. So I thought as far as those went, I thought they could have not over stylized so many stuff and they could have focused more on character development and really growing the characters even further than what they did. I also thought some of the replay value of this movie was kind of weak. This is definitely a film where I can't see myself viewing it multiple more times. It's definitely a film where that what I got out of it the first time is probably what I would get out of it the second and third time if I ever were to come back to it. So overall, I'm going to give Carol an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good film. Like I said, those set designs are really amazing. Cate Blanchett, Rooney Mara, and Kyle Chandler are all very good in the movie, but it does ignore details. It's a little straightforward with what it's trying to do. Some of the pacing was a little slow. It felt a little over stylized at times, and the replay value probably isn't as strong as I was hoping it was going to be. So, 8 out of 10, good movie. Not a great movie, though. Like I said, if you're going to see the movie, see it for the set designs and see it for the performances. I think story content wise, I would have preferred something a little bit more with brain food involved. So, good movie, but not a great movie.